Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to my melee tank build in Fallout New Vegas. This build will allow you to cut through any enemies dealing massive amounts of damage. This build can be incredibly powerful and you can use unarmed or melee, but this guide is aimed more towards melee weapons. As always, there are timestamps in the description if you wish to skip to a particular section, but without further ado, let's get into the video. First up, we'll have our special stats. I'll explain why the stats are the way they are for each stat. First up, we'll need 7 into strength. This is mainly for the damage output of melee weapons as well as increasing the melee weapon's skill itself. It's worth noting that unlike guns and energy weapons, failing to meet the strength and weapon skill requirements for a melee weapon makes no difference. You can still wield them, the accuracy penalty does not affect melee weapons, and there may only be a slightly lower swing speed if you do not hit the strength requirement. We'll also need it for certain perks later on in the playthrough. Next, we'll have 4 into perception. Perception is barely needed and can be put lower if you want to. Furthermore, there are no perks that we will need that require a certain amount into perception. Next up, we'll have 7 into endurance. Due to needing to be up close to enemies in order to deal damage to them, we're going to need a higher endurance to tank some of the damage. As well as this, it is also more than enough to gather implants later on in the game. Next, we'll lower charisma to 1. Unless you wish to specialise in speech, charisma will be useless for this build. We'll keep intelligence at 5 as there isn't much need for the build, but having it on 5 keeps a decent amount of skill points you can use per level. Next, we'll put agility to 7. This will allow us to holster and draw our weapons a little bit faster, but for the majority it will be used for VATs if you use it and for some perks later on in our playthrough. Finally, we'll put luck at 9. This will be very helpful for melee as a lot of weapons, especially in the early game, will deal bonus critical hit damage, and so the more time you get a critical hit, the faster you will eliminate targets. Next up are your tag skills. The first 2 skills are essential to pick, with the first being melee weapons and the second being repair. This is straightforward as we need to tag the weapon skill we're using, and the repair is a must to keep all your equipment in top condition, especially considering that melee weapons are more brittle than guns. The final tag skill is yours to choose, however I think unarmed would also be a good choice, but the last one is whatever you think you would use the most. Finally, we have our traits. The first trait we will choose is skilled. Skilled is one of the best traits and I think most builds should choose it regardless of what playstyle they choose. The second trait I think should be chosen should be good natured. Good natured will increase stats by a further 5 points. The reduction of weapon skills is offset by the skill trait, meaning it will result in a net positive result. Before you leave, make sure to loot Doc Mitchell's house of any valuables that we can use to sell or use before we begin our playthrough. Once out of Doc Mitchell's house, we'll go to chat and sell everything we no longer need. Be sure to also sell your ammo as you will not be using it if you're strictly using melee or unarmed. We'll also purchase the shovel, which will be needed later on, but can also be used itself as a starter melee weapon due to the bonus critical hit damage. We'll head on over to the cemetery, pick up the Snowglobe and head slightly outside of the cemetery to rebuild your character. You can take advantage of the glitch where you retake your traits, take skilled once more and it will grant a further +5 to all skills again. From the cemetery, head west up to the other side of the mountain and then keep heading north until you see the red rocks of the canyon. A little ways below will be an unmarked grave, and as you have the shovel you can loot the grave. Inside will be Chance's knife. This weapon already deals more damage than the broad machete you are given with the tribal or courier stash pack if you have it installed. Next we'll go to Goodsprings, meet Sunny Smiles and finish the tutorial. Meet up with Trudy, fix her radio and offer to help Ringo. It's up to you if you decide to help Ringo or the powder gangers here. Convince whoever you can and start the fight. Depending on which side you take, loot all of the valuables and sell them to chat for more caps. After leveling up, make sure you have a medicine skill of 30. This is now where you can choose your first perk, which is mainly up to you, but I would suggest Black Widow or Confirmed Bachelor as you are more likely going to fight male combatants over female and so the extra damage will be beneficial. Next up, we'll head on over to Sloan before we get to Primm, fix Snuffles' leg for the small XP gain, fix the generator and head to Chomps Lewis for the NCR reputation increase and some NCR dollars for the generator. Before leaving, head into the barracks to loot a copy of Duck and Cover as well as Dean's electronics. You can also loot some more items within the barracks. Now with Sloan out of the way, make your way to Primm and deal with the escaped convicts. Head into the Bison Steve Hotel, deal with the escaped convicts, unlock the storeroom for some more loot and then fix and use the elevator to kill some more convicts and loot the small stash in one of the rooms. Kill the last of the convicts, loot anything of value and rescue Deputy Beagle. When leveling up, it's recommended you increase your melee weapons skill, then repair and then unarmed for some of the perks. Once you reach level 4, take the educated perk for some more skill points per level. Next up, upon your travels to Novak, head into the Wolfhorn Ranch to loot the unique cleaver Chopper. As it's unique, it sells for a lot more caps. Chance's knife is a better weapon, but Chopper can be used as a backup weapon if Chance's knife breaks. Once at Novak, enter the Dino D Light, lockpick the floor safe or take the key and loot the bill of sale. Head to Cliff Briscoe and sell any unwanted items for some caps. If you have the Gunrunner's arsenal, it's worth maybe purchasing the Ripper from Cliff. Not only will it deal a large amount of damage, but it also ignores a target's DT and DR, making armor wearing targets much easier to kill. You can also lockpick the locked door to the right, and on a shelf you can loot the unique pistol, That Gun. You can then go back to Cliff and sell the weapon to him. Next, wait until night, speak to Boone and offer to help him with finding the person who sold his wife into slavery. Bring Jenny May Crawford to the front of the dino statue and allow Boone to kill her. Bring him the bill of sale where you can get the first Recon Beret. This piece of armor not only grants 1 into perception, but also adds another +5 bonus to your critical hit chance. Once at Boulder City, head on over to the Boulder City train station. Head behind the train on the track, and on the floor next to a skeleton will be a free hunting rifle for you to take and sell, as the rifle is worth a lot of caps. Once at Freeside, head to the Atomic Wrangler and play blackjack. With your luck at 9, you won't have a problem with getting banned not only in the Wrangler but every casino. Once done, head into every single casino on the strip and become banned, which will result in you acquiring over 30,000 caps. Once done, we can head back to Gunrunners and can purchase the equipment we'll need to make it to the late game. Most of the late game weapons you'll need can be found here. Before acquiring power armor, I would recommend purchasing the Reinforced Combat Armor Mark II, but would keep the Beret on for the critical hit chance. As for the weapons, there are a variety you can acquire, with weapons such as the 2-step goodbye being a powerful choice, as well as mods for the weapons as well. Once done with the Gunrunners, head to the New Vegas Medical Clinic to gather the Strength, Endurance, Agility, Luck and the Nimian implant for the increased stats and DT. With the equipment and weapons already acquired, you can focus on leveling up your character by carrying on the story and doing side quests in whatever order you wish. Once at level 6, grab the Toughness perk for the increased DT needed for those close combat encounters. At level 8, grab the Super Slam perk. This is an incredibly powerful perk as it grants a 15% chance for unarmed or one-handed weapons to knock a target down, ragdolling them temporarily. The chance is increased to 30% for two-handed weapons, however it does not affect automatic weapons such as the Ripper or Chainsaw. Combining this perk with a fast attacking weapon such as Chance's knife can knock a target down, where the knockdown effect can be stacked, making enemies unable to get back up and making killing them very easy. At level 10, take the Finesse perk, which adds another +5 bonus to your critical hit chance. Once appropriately geared up, head to Camp Searchlight and enter the most western destroyed church and into the NCR storage area. Speak to Logan and continue through his quest until he gives you the key to the fire station. Head inside and enter the restroom to the left, open the second cubicle from the door, and inside will be Knock Knock. This weapon is incredibly powerful and pairs very well with the Super Slam perk. The weapon does not have a high item health but can carry you well into the late and end game. Once at level 12, you can grab the Piercing Strike perk. Although it may seem like an unarmed perk, it will allow you to ignore 15 points of a target's DT when using both unarmed and melee weapons. Of course, this perk is useless for weapons that ignore a target's DT anyway, but for weapons that it does not, such as Knock Knock, it is a very good perk. At level 14, grab Unstoppable Force. This perk essentially makes it so enemies cannot block your attacks. In the event they do, you do a staggering ×4 damage to them with either unarmed or melee weapons, and as such they have very little defense against you. At level 16, grab Jury Rigging. This perk is essential for most builds, but even more so for melee weapons due to the small amount of item health they have. At level 18, you can grab the Purifier or optionally Paralyzing Palm. Purifier will help with the more dangerous creatures, allowing you to deal more damage to them. At level 20, grab the Weapon Handling perk. Although not nearly as detrimental as normal guns, this will help with using the heavier weapons such as the Super Sledge and allowing you to swing faster with it. At level 22, grab Ninja. Although it mostly benefits sneak builds, the perk also grants a flat 15% increase to the player's critical hit chance when using melee or unarmed weapons. At level 24, grab Slayer. This perk is essential as it increases your attack speed with melee and unarmed weapons by 30%. With weapons that already have a fast attack speed, this will make them even more devastating. If you get to level 50 and have Evil Karma, it's worth grabbing the Ain't Like That Now perk, but is only available with the Lonesome Road DLC. This also synergizes very well with Slayer as it increases your attack speed by an additional 20% and also makes you immune to critical hits. This also helps as you have to become very close in distance to your targets and will help soak up more damage. Finally, for the late game, it's worth grabbing Power Armor, but unfortunately it does require you to finish either Arcade Ganon's personal quest for Auld Lang Syne, where you will get Power Armor training, or you will need to join the Brotherhood of Steel by helping either Elder McNamara or Hardin, depending on who you side with.
I had the Knights refurbish a suit of our Power Armor for your use. It's one of the earlier models, but it should serve you well. Now, I suppose I'm going to have to show you how to use it, aren't I?
Once done, and if helping the Brotherhood, you will be able to purchase T51B armor from the bunker. Furthermore, if helping the Brotherhood, you will be given a key to the Brotherhood Safehouse. Inside will be a heavily damaged set of T51B power armor, but will provide ample protection. With all the equipment gathered, you could also head to the Deathclaw Promontory. You will be able to soak up the damage from the Deathclaws and carve a path through them. At the very end, near some eggs, will be both a set of T51B armor and some Remnants power armor, which is normally only acquired during Arcade Ganon's quest. And there we have my melee tank build within Fallout New Vegas. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, thank you for watching.